more or less go through the format of a logistical approach to get to graduate school. Okay, so our outline is going to deal with a short introduction, your learning objectives, outcomes, presentation, conclusion, as we've talked about before. So here's what we want to do. You have to have a true assessment of yourself. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. We all have different study skills, right? We all have different ways we do things, right? Some of us are early morning, some of us are late, and some of us are rush, right? Rush never gets it done. Rush has a lot of cavities in it. All right? And one of the things that you want to recognize is the more you rush in doing things, the more you find out what you left out. And it makes you look bad. I always tell students, you study a night before the test, you fail the test, you still think about the test, and after 3 days, that's when you understand what you left or didn't understand. You learn, but it doesn't show. Okay, so make sure you understand your potential. Look into your circumstances. Then that will give you the opportunity to assess exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. It's a time to be very honest with yourself. Because once you identify your strengths, it is a lot easier for you to cope with whatever the circumstances will be. Don't pretend. Look at yourself in the mirror. It will also aid you in making choices of the type of graduate schools you want to attend, because you know your strengths and your weaknesses better than anyone else. Determine the academic environment that optimizes your chances to succeed. This is where culture comes in. This is where understanding mentorship comes in. There are professors whose interest is simply research, and they deal with that productivity. And they do not have the time to corral you all the time to do what you're supposed to do. So if you're not a self-motivated, a go-getter, that is not an environment for you. Okay? That basically tells you that you will not succeed in that environment. Understand the culture of the university. Do they have representations of people that you can relate to and how make the environment comfortable for you in order to be able to be successful? Do you see the kind of people that you can study with, who can share experiences with you to make that environment amicable to your studies? Studies is not just reading your books. You have the emotional component of it. You have the social component of it. Your ability to be what? Engaged in the community that you are in, that allows you to be most relaxed and opportune to succeed. Okay? These are all factors. Preparing a competitive packet. We've talked about this previously, but we'll put some more emphasis on this. If you identify your strengths and weaknesses, and you go and search for schools that will adapt to this congruence that you're looking for, before even you start putting your application together, your first assignment is to visit that school. See what is out there. See how it matches with you, because then it influences how quickly you want to do your packet. If you just say, I'm going to grad school, I'm going to apply to 10 schools, and you start putting in all your applications to those schools, it doesn't really address a competitive approach, because you really don't know exactly what it takes to succeed in that environment. All right? So that is key. Understand GRE scores. You talked about GREs, right? You have to understand those scores from the perspective of the school that you are trying to apply. Not just the cutoff values. The cutoff is the minimum, right? If you're applying for scholarships and you apply and you are aiming at the minimum, where is your reference? At the bottom, right? So everybody else is on top, right? What is your realistic approach to obtaining anything? Zero, none. Do you see that? Don't aim at the bottom. So you must understand what those scores mean. Review that the graduate admission process is like taking a test, right? I like to read all the questions. Take 2 or 3 minutes. If it's a 5 problem exam, I want to spend the first 5 minutes reading all the questions. And why is that important to me? I start with the easiest one to me. It gives me confidence. I don't just say this is number 1, let me start with number 1. No, I read all the problems, and by the time I start with the easier one, my brain is simmering on the other ones that I've read. So there is a process to that madness, and you begin to see. So you review the graduate admission process, right? By elimination, you can look at the things you know you're very qualified for that you can do easily, and you can begin to see the ones that will take you time, and begin to approach those areas like recommendations, right? Like the deadlines to meet all those things, to make sure that by the time that package is put together, you are confident that you're going to make progress. All right? I think you can see that I'm ahead of myself, so you can match that meets your best needs. We've talked about that. You can at the same time assess the nature of the chosen environment. I've talked about that. One key thing that most people miss is that when you get into a department, a graduate school, and you meet with the faculty, you meet with them individually, talk about their different research areas and so forth, there is an inherent learning process, something that life teaches you. That is understanding how well they work with their colleagues as they talk about their research areas on the places you're to visit. If you visit a school's website, you identify the research area you're interested in, you talk to that professor. Why is this important? If you're doing a research and you're doing a thesis, you're going to have a committee. A committee deals with assessing your work and agreeing to allow you to graduate. That's the easiest way I can put it to you. It's not about you passing or doing a great work. It's about allowing you to go. And if there is conflict among 2 of your team members, when one says yes, the other automatically says no. Guess who is caught in between? We have an African proverb for that. When 2 elephants fight, the ground suffers. Elephants, when they fight, the ground suffers, okay? So if you're caught up in between that, you have a big problem. You're never graduating, not on the fault of your own. So you need to understand that the faculty and the mentors that you're dealing with are always very good at loving each other, working together with each other, and looking out for your best interest. There are going to be challenges. Some of which can come from your background. All right? You may need extra prerequisites. Be prepared to meet that challenge. This is where your resourcefulness, your dedication makes it a must, because you have assessed your potential. You know what it takes for you to get there. Okay, we've talked about the knowledge of the importance of GRE, so understand the components of your graduate packet. I've talked about that. I'm not going to overlabor the point as we go through this. The time and financial resources that you need are important. We've talked about all the things that you're going to do. There is no one single path to graduate school. Assuming you're a first generation graduate from college, your priorities may be different. The most important thing to you at that immaterial time may be to go to work. Right? You want to make money, you want to care for your family, you're looking at all the expenses that your parents suffered to give you, you're looking at the debt you have, right? But at the same time, you're motivated to go into grad school. Your option will not necessarily mean that you have to go to grad school. You could be working and your company paying for your grad school. That's an option. If the company is going to pay for your grad school and you're making money, is there anything lost in going through grad school? You are meeting both requirements, right? But it is more difficult doing that, right? Because there are responsibilities at work that you have to meet and you must maintain, and at the same time maintaining the grades for them to pay what? The tuition for you to get that. So you have to play that game and understand the financial resources that you will need. Ensure that the investment will advance your career in the desired direction. In most cases, when you're coming out of college, you have not taken time to look through the spectrum of all what you can do with yourself, right? Sometimes it's very narrow. But if you get involved and you get into the industry, you begin to see opportunities. Or if you come to the university and visit, and so like you're doing now, by the time you're out in these 2 days, you will see different areas of research that may attract you to understand that when they talk about transportation, it encompasses all aspects of engineering, business, and so forth. And it might even redirect your thought process from what you think you want to be to what now you want to become. Understand that. Look within to determine where you are and your proposed destination, which means you have to establish a roadmap, right? What does a roadmap do for you? It's like benchmarks, right? On so number of years or 2 years or 2 semesters from now, here's where I want to be. That is always an iterative process. You have to revisit it, see whether you've done it right. Have you achieved it? Did you excel? What are the shortcomings? And how do you improve? It's a life cycle. Analyze your strengths, weaknesses, financial situation, and the social situation. I'm going to emphasize the social part more than the rest because we've talked about the rest. The social part also deals with your emotions, right? If you're not emotionally stable, I don't care how smart you are, you will never concentrate. And if you don't concentrate, I don't care how well they know you, whatever you do is what they're going to judge you by, right? Let's give you a few life examples. 100-meter races, right? Well-prepared athletes, right? They stumble on the way. Or they had a cramp. They could have won. They should have won. But they didn't, right? Were they ever remembered after the race? Never. Okay? Keep that in mind. It's a life cycle. So you need to know that social aspect. I was very smart. I went to graduate school. I should have graduated. I could have graduated. But I didn't. Make sure that that social aspect, the emotional aspect of life, is something that you balance and control to deal with your success, because that is an integral part of your graduate process. In understanding your potential, we've talked about this, set short-term and long-term goals and focus on achieving them. That's what benchmarks do. All right? All of this form the basis of your decision process, whether to do online traditional graduate school or go through what you will do when you're going through industry and all that stuff. Okay? Look at the different institutions and the benefits each of them will provide you. Identify specific schools that have degree programs and specializations in the area of your interest. All right? This is the question everybody has been asking. When is the time right? The time is right when you are focused, when you have actually determined exactly what it is that you want to do, which school you want to apply to, and how you want to achieve that. It could be the first semester of your junior year. There are those who are so well motivated that they know 2 or 3 semesters ahead of time what they want to do. Then you go back to those sites, pick up the information that you need, start your application. What is the best way to know whether you're going to be successful or not? You know robocalls, right? They call you all the time, right? Become a pest. That's what they call being proactive. Okay? Become a pest. You call the professor or the program head, ask too many questions. What happens when you keep calling and calling and calling? They remember your name. They remember your voice. If you're too irritating and they hear your voice, they'll say, take a message. But if you're very interesting, they see you as somebody that they're now keen to bring in. You may have some shortcomings on other areas, but that will be overlooked. Why? Because you have been very persistent. You have demonstrated interest. Okay? You have demonstrated interest. But if you are a passive person and you submit it, you wait for time, you wait for everything to take place, and whether you get it or not, what are your chances of success? Not very good. Not very good. Okay? Internships. Internships are a very good way of identifying precisely what it is that you want to know. There is no bad internship. You know that? There is no bad internship. Even if you come back and say, this is not what I want to do, it eliminates the path that you don't want to take and narrows your effort to where you want to go. There is experience gained in every process. So while at the beginning you thought that area may be something of interest to you, having gone into it, given that approach, you now know that's not what you need. In the process, you may go in for one thing and come back with a renewed interest to either better understand it or make that your career choice. But once that decision is made, you see, you are now what? Focused. And that focal length is what drives your goals and objectives. And it will become your passion, and that is when you succeed. All right? Okay? Ask yourself the following questions. Does the structure of the program fit my personal academic style? We just started with how you study and all those things. Does it fit my style? If it doesn't fit your style, your chances of success are slim. You want to make sure that is something you take into account. It's a good self-analysis of what happens. Are my study skills appropriate to the chosen program's level of difficulty? That's where the last minute reading, the last minute thing doesn't help. If you read beyond what the professor assigned you, and you go to his office and ask more questions and inquire beyond that, guess what? He may give you something else to do to enhance that knowledge. But at the back of his mind, he is distinguishing you from the rest of the students in the class. And if you come back and he sees that not only did you do what he asked you to do, you even came up with something new, even if you never had a scholarship or assistantship at that time, guess what he's going to do? He's going to give you something because you are proactive. Think about those things. Are the level of social skills and self-confidence appropriate to succeed in that program? I've beaten that to death. So, is my intellectual development advanced enough to succeed in that program? This is where your self-confidence comes in. And this is where I keep talking about understanding yourself. If you had a true assessment of yourself, you know your strengths and weaknesses, you know exactly what you need to do to make you succeed in that program. Okay? What qualities do the professors possess that will make them to be good advisors? This one is a tricky one. Okay? They have many students to advise. Okay? When you go to grad school, a professor may have 5 master's students, 3 or 4 PhD students, each of whom will what? Require his time, right? And those research topics are different. So in those different angles, you have to be able to understand how to choose a good advisor. A good advisor, in my estimation, is one who listens to your problem that you want to solve because you come with a proposal. If it is in their research area and they're interested in that topic and they will tell you what they're doing in their lab that is related to that, then they will pay you attention. But if it's something that is outside their environment of research, learn from the beginning that they're not going to pay you too much attention. Not because they don't want to, because you are outside their domain. And that relationship will not be very good. Because the rest of the onus is upon you to produce and make it be the case. So this is what it means by understanding that. Okay? You have to know how to relate to them. All right, do I have a good knowledge of my strengths and weaknesses? We've talked about that. Here is the one that I am always very, very passionate about. Most people are admitted straight into PhD programs. They may have done enough work to earn a master's, but if they don't get a PhD, they're still with a bachelor's degree. There is no in between. You have to understand your strengths. And if you are in that type of a program, make sure that there is an outlet for you to get a master's after you have done that if you're not finishing a PhD. Life happens, right? Joanne? That's right. Okay. So let's keep that in mind. Know your limitations and plan for alternatives. Understand the options available to you as it relates to course variety and the number of professors in the area of your interest. This is critical, the number of professors in the area of your interest. If you go to a school where there's only one professor in the area of your interest, guess what? If you fall out with him, you have to go to another school. It's just that simple. right? And the other part of this is your horizon of understanding in that area is limited to one person beyond what you do. You want to have more than one person in that area so that you will be able to bounce out, just as we are all different with different backgrounds. Our thought processes are also different, right? Our thought processes are also different. And the prism from which we look at things are also related with our background. So if they have more than one person in that area, that will be the case, and you will benefit more from that than being stuck with one professor. Understand your degree plan. Most of you don't even do it in an undergrad. But this is the key to your success. This is the key to whether you graduate in 4 years, 6 years, 2 years, or 1.5 years in grad school. Because once you understand your degree plan and you look at your courses and you identify your cavities, you have a realistic approach as to when you should graduate, what it takes, and how you should go there. See there? If you don't do that, you have not prepared yourself for grad school or anything. That is key. It will identify the additional requirements that you will need before starting your program. Or if you think through the whole process and you understand that you've met all those things, but you have a different area of interest as well, there are courses that will aid you that you want to take in order to allow you to make sure that that becomes a reality for you. Examine if the first structure fits your study style. Improve your writing skills, as this is expected of you. You will deal with this in communications tomorrow. But this is what this is the only thing about communication that I'm going to make you live with if you don't remember anything else. There is what you say or write. There is what it means and what others understand it to be. And those three are not the same. Okay? I want you to remember this. When you say something or write something, there is what you mean. There is what it means, and there is what others understand it to be. And those three are not the same. When they match, there is harmony. When they are not, there is discord. And that discord could be very detrimental. So improve your writing skills. Think through what you are saying. Abstract yourself from it when you write it, and that is where your personal statement and all those things are crucial. See if you understand it to mean exactly what you thought you were saying. If not, refine it and get it to that point where you begin to understand yourself. All right? Write a successful statement. I alluded to that when Johan took my time, so I'm not going to speak about that. Be very clear about your goals and how the specific program you are applying to best will place you to achieve them. This is when you have done your critical thinking. This is when you have done your critical thinking. You're going to a program. Even if you're going to look for a job, right? Understand the culture of the company. And when you're going for interview, you're not going to tell them you need a job. You're going there to tell them how you best fit the company profile and what you bring to the company, right? Here, you're looking at what? The program. Okay, so this is what I've found from your program. These are the professors I have seen that are in the area of my interest, what they are doing. This is what I bring to the table and see how this will aid me to succeed. That is a much better and a powerful way of selling yourself and making them understand that you've truly put some thought into your application and what you're trying to do, rather than saying, I need to be in this school because you have a good program, I'm going to graduate and get a job. Who will pay too much attention to that? Address the anticipated impact, your research on the field of relevance to you. This is not rocket science. This is how you feel, what you perceive to be where you are heading, and the relevance to you. Okay? It's not a research paper that you go to publish. So it's not the one that gives you too many references and all that. No. You are looking at yourself and saying, if I do this, I can help this. Okay. Take it from the point of safety. What impact do you think your research is going to provide? And what exactly do you see this bringing to people? All right? If you have a significant research experience, your statement of purpose should demonstrate your abilities. This is where you talk about your internships, if you've published with your undergraduate faculty, if you've talked to different professors and you work with them and you have discovered something, it lays the foundation to tell the school, the department, that you have the tools, you have the background to jump into a research and be successful. And maybe with this, the first semester you come in, the professor is saying, okay, we're beginning you on this research part. Let's get this done and make it happen. I already talked about your letters of recommendations. They should be personal, specific to what you have done, and be a good character witness for you in all senses, because it demonstrates what you know. The most effective one from a faculty member who knows your work and can describe your performance relative to your classmates, because there is context in what is being said here. Okay? I've talked about that already. So we've talked about the importance of this, so I'm going to skip this part for the element of time, but let's do this. I want to give you, you can go to this. This is the chart that I want to leave you with. In everything you do in life, you have choices and decisions to make. Okay? You have choices and decisions to make. Look through what you are trying to do. Your academic and professional environment. If you don't have, you want to make a decision between full-time, do you want to be a full-time student? Remember all those things I talked about, right? All the parameters that come into your decision to make that. If it is no, that you don't want to be a full-time, get your company pay for you. Some of it could be online, and you can do it. I had a student who graduated from my school. He worked for Sikorsky. He did his master's in systems engineering at USC, worked in Connecticut, and had his master's doing it online. The company paid for it. Now he's making a lot of money. He's left that company. They wanted him back. He's asking for more money. If the environment for you is such that you can go full-time, in both cases, you want to go back and look at the requirements for those things, your degree requirements, go through this process. Full-time, find funding opportunities, deal with your research, prepared to meet the challenges, strive to succeed. Less than full-time, assess issues like access issues. You want to deal with lack of face-to-face. When you're a number, you are less remembered. Okay? So that you have to be, remember that persistence? In communication, we call it one persistent system. So you have to constantly troubleshoot it, and then the faculty will never forget you. All right? I hope it made an impression on you in your decision process.